Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Arpa Georgic and this is the second online Azure event we organized since the hit of COVID-19. First of all, I hope you are all doing well and healthy. And I also hope that you will enjoy today's presentation about AI and machine learning. If you remember, last time we discussed how we switched to online meetings, and I can tell you it is still a journey to us. So if you have any comments, any feedbacks about the way we organize these events, or about the content of our meetups, we would be happy to hear your feedbacks. We would be happy to hear your voice because we would like to be better in this. Talking about our plans for this year, as you know, we as organizers, we work with all the three major cloud players. And we do this because we would like to provide you the best combination and the broadest knowledge available. This is what you can see now, hopefully on the screen, or roadmap for 2020. And as you can see, we are not stopping with any of our streams. It means that if you want to jump on this train, you will have a plenty of chance to do so. And last but not least, before I don't want to take too much, I would like to say thank you to Microsoft Hungary. They made it possible that today we have a wonderful speaker with us. ML, language processing, language understanding, cognitive services, these are all hot topics. And after the COVID-19 things, they are getting even more spotlight. Therefore, again, I would really hope that you will enjoy today's sessions. And Parashar, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Arpad. Good evening, everyone. Let me share my screen so people can see it. Okay, so I'm Parashar. I'm a senior program manager on the cognitive services team. And as you can see, I was in Budapest last year, so it was a fun time. What I'm going to talk today is how you can use Azure AI and in particular the cognitive services to build intelligent apps. We'll go through some cool demos and then we'll have a Q&A. When you say Azure AI, I mean, what is it that you understand, right? So basically, we have Azure AI in three different parts. So one is the AI apps and agents. Essentially, these are pre-built machine learning models, and there is a bot framework and virtual assistant which you can use to quickly create smart bots and applications. And then there are other pieces of Azure AI, which is like knowledge mining, primarily around search. And then there is custom machine learning, which is primarily Azure machine learning. Now, the good thing about Azure AI is it integrates very well with other technologies which are in Azure, primarily around business analytics or even the data related stuff. So, but in today's session, we are going to focus only on the AI apps part. And if there is interest in the future, I'm happy to have another session on knowledge mining or custom machine learning if that's of interest. Now, if we dig deeper into the AI applications and agent space, the intent here is to help you build smart applications quickly and without having you to worry about bringing in a lot of pre-labeled data. Because when you want to build smart applications or intelligent apps, like say, which is using some images or doing some translation or things like that, then the biggest challenge is having labeled data, right? So that's what we are trying to simplify over here, that users can use pre-built models and they can call this web APIs, right, which are hosted in Azure, and they have world-class machine learning models integrated into it. And it's as simple as just making a web service call and then getting a JSON response back, which you can parse. And in some cases, we even allow you to customize this, right? So now let's go deeper into what are these cognitive services. So in Azure, we have in general like 5 pillars of cognitive services, if I may say so. So one is decision, the second one is speech, third is language, next vision, and then web search. And if we go into deeper, like what, so in total there are 30 plus services which are categorized into these 5 pillars, right? And I particularly belong to the language pillar. So that's my day in and day out work as a product manager. But we have a big team, and we work on world-class machine learning and deep learning tech in order to build this pre-built AIs basically. In today's session, I'll be touching upon a few of these services, and you'll see some demos. At a high level, the idea is that depending on the type of scenario you are trying to address or the problem you're trying to solve, you can pick and choose a particular service in the form of and call it as an API, and then you basically pay per use in most of the cases, right? So you are paying only based on the number of requests that you are making them. And a lot of these AI services are in GA for many years now. So this is not something like Microsoft launched recently. It's been there for almost 4 or 5 years. Many of these services are in their version 2, version 3, or even higher. And we have a global footprint. So like during the demo, when I show you, like you'll see that some of these services support more than 60 languages actually worldwide. And they are deployed in multiple regions across the world. So we have a very good customer traction, and I'll share some of the customer stories as well. Now, we do see customers using that, okay, these APIs, when they are in Azure, they are great, but then we want you to use these APIs even like independent of whether it's hosted in a data center. So that's where we support many of these APIs or the services in a container format, right? So you don't have to send your data to the cloud if you don't want to. You can actually host a container, basically a Docker container, anywhere where you can have Docker runtime and call many of these services actually. So it's very flexible, and you can even deploy this container in an IoT edge device or something like that. So essentially, even if you do not have internet, then also you can call these web services when they are deployed. Let's jump into the demo. So I'm going to show you a few demos. I'm going to first start with the Azure Cognitive Search Explorer demo. Then we'll go into form recognizer, insurance claim, and then a translator. And then if based on the Q&A, if there is an ask to do more, I can, depending on how much time we have, I can do that. So this application that I'm going to show, it's a demo application which even you can use. So you can look for intelligent kiosk. We have the GitHub source code for this available as well. So if you want to see how we use this multiple cognitive services in a single smart application, you can do that. And the first demo that I'm going to show is how we use vision, then text and search, all three together to help build a search explorer. So the US government actually declassified the JFK assassination files a couple of years back. And essentially, these files have handwritten text, images, typewritten text, and things like that. So now if you want to search across this, you want to build a knowledge store around it, how would you do that? Right. So the idea here is you can use something like Azure Cognitive Search, put all your data in Azure Blob Storage or other type of storage, and then you can run these services on top of it. And when I say run these services, it's as easy as going to Azure portal and just configuring that, okay, this is my input data store and this is my output data store. And then we create an index with all the metadata that you would need for this, right? So if you see here, I search for Oswald and then it brings up documents which are typewritten and it has handwritten text. There is extracted text on the right hand side. It also does named entity recognition, right? So there is text analytics service that we have, which does that. So you can find out people name, places, organization, and things like that. It also does OCR, if you see. So this is handwritten text and it's able to figure out what it is. And then it can do a lot of correlation even with the publicly available information. So if you see in this picture, there is no information about this picture being of Lee Harvey Oswald, right? But because we integrate even with the Bing search APIs, you can actually even associate that over here. And then you can see that there is captioning, automatic captioning that is also happening over here. So it says wall person, and then there is a person standing in front of the camera, right? So that's how it is. And these are pre-built models. But now, if you want to customize these models, we also support that, right? So then you don't have to start from scratch, right? But you can take one of these pre-built models and bring in your additional images or text or whatever data that you have, and then you can customize it, and then you can deploy this customized model to the cloud and integrate it into your application, right? And you can use Power Platform to build your applications, right? Which can easily call an API, or you can write Python code or C# or whichever language basically you prefer to call these APIs. So it's as simple as that. So now, so this is how it is. And then there are, if you see on the left hand side, you can have metadata. So we see cognitive search along with text, image, and OCR related cognitive services being used for improving the metadata around search. So basically enriching your search. And it all happens in a single interface actually. So you can see metadata on the left, which you can now filter, and so then it can do the tagging and things like that. And updating this is also very easy. Like you just rerun the index and then it will take care of updating everything. So that's on the Cognitive Search Explorer. Okay, now let me go to the next demo, which is around Form Recognizer. And we have this is available in public preview since last November, and we will be going GA next month in 2 to 3 weeks now. Now, the idea behind Form Recognizer is it has two components, right? So there is one component which can allow you to use the pre-built models, like I mentioned earlier, but then you can also bring in your custom images, and then you can create a new model based on as simple as like as easy as just bringing 5 images. So in this case, if you see, I have like 5 receipts which I loaded over here, and some of these receipts, so the receipts can be from different restaurants, but they at least should have some format which is similar. So in this case, the format is like the date and the time are at the top, and then the amount is at the bottom. But if you have a different format, you just need to bring in 5 examples of that type, and then you can load it. And then you can see you can quickly create a model. And on the right hand side, you will see the key value pairs being extracted as part of it. Okay. So it's as easy as that. And it can even recognize text even if the image is not clear. Like even if you crumple the receipt or things like that, it should still work because our OCR is so powerful that it can do automatic alignment and things like that. So that's on the Form Recognizer. The good thing about Form Recognizer is it can even run on containers. So if you have on-prem data, then you can even run it on-prem along with other cognitive services or the pre-built AI services that we have. Okay. Next, let us go to the third demo, which is around text analytics, basically. So what we went through until now was how to create smart applications that have search, and you can use OCR and text and translation and all those. Now we are going to see, like, okay, one of these services, we call it as text analytics. And what it can do is it can extract sentiment, key phrases, the type of language, person, and things like that from your text by just making API call to it, and the response is a JSON. So in this case, what I have is I picked up an article, a recent article about Budapest airport, and then I just copied it over here just now, and then we'll analyze it. So when I already ran it, but it takes a couple of seconds basically, and then it gives you this output. And if you see the JSON output, so let me zoom it maybe. Yeah. So if you can see the JSON output, this is what you get as a response to the API call. And then you can parse it basically, and then you can use it in whichever way you want. So we have customers who use this in analyzing chat conversations, like say with agents. We have customers who use it for analyzing articles or even detecting things which are not expected, like say if an article is very negative or it is something about risk to the society or something. So there are customers who even use it to highlight risk, and of course sentiment is there. And then there are customers who actually use it even to extract entities and enrich their search, right? Or any other application they want to use it for. Now this is all pre-built, right? But what if you have what if you want to customize it, right? So this is pre-built, but if you want to customize it, and that's where the language understanding or the Lewis service comes in, right? And you can use it by going to lewis.ai. So so what you can do is, now instead of using the pre-built API, you can actually create a custom model very easily, even without writing code. So in this case, I have an app which I created for the meetup. So I'm just going to load the portal and I'll show you what it can do over here. So this app can have custom intents or custom entities, right? So this app is what this app does, the one I created for the demo is, like say you can use it to identify whether a user is trying to book a flight or get the weather and things like that. And to build the app, it is as easy as creating a new intent over here, giving it a name, and then providing some utterances. So I already added some utterances over here, right? So again, let me zoom it. So over here, if you can see, it is able to detect my entities that I want to extract. And then these are example utterances which I have. Now, instead of these kind of utterances, if you have complicated scenarios, like say you want to extract information from policies or paragraphs, you can do that. So as long as it is less than 500 characters, you can use Lewis C. We are working on the next version, which will support even long form documents. So keep an eye on that as well. So you are not restricted to utterances, but you can also have documents. And then you can actually extract the intents as well from that. So you don't have to give a lot of label data, as you can see over here. I'm just giving a few examples, and in most cases, you can have a very good model by providing just 20 to 30 examples and then labeling it. Okay, and then when you want to actually look at the performance of the model, we provide you even a dashboard which will evaluate your training data and everything, and then you can publish the model and you can enable other cognitive services, like I said, sentiment and spell check and things like that as part of your model. So even if there is an error in the input data, we take care of it, right? And once you do that, you can actually test it. And so let's say, book me a flight from Seattle to Budapest. So when I do that, so if you see here, with 93% confidence, it was able to figure out that, okay, this is related to flight booking intent. So book flight is my intent over here. And then you can actually look at the other things which it extracted. So then it extracted that this is the from airport and then the to airport, right? And then you can actually build even complex entities on top of it. So if you have scenarios like book me a flight from Seattle to Budapest, and what is the weather in Budapest, right? So if you combine these two, you can actually even do very complicated entities. So you don't have to just restrict yourself to simple entities. You can even build hierarchy. Like say, if you want to build a address related extraction, then you can have the sub entities or even person names like first name, last name. So you can do a lot of complicated stuff. And we have a lot of customer scenarios around language understanding in terms of how customers are using it. So recently we published one scenario for KPMG where it is trying to use it for trader surveillance and fraud detection, basically. And then we have Telefonica, which is using it in bots. And we have Volkswagen, who is using it in the virtual assistant as well. And if anyone is interested in going through the customer cases, we publish these customer stories over here. So I have filtered it based on Europe because I thought it might be relevant. And we have two cases from Hungary, which are from the Hungarian government. And it's related to national archives where the historical images have been analyzed. But then we have many other scenarios in terms of how cognitive services, be it for image or text, things like that, are being used. Okay, so it's really amazing. And I'll send this link, so if anyone wants to go through it later, they can do that. But as you can see, we have a lot of other customer stories around the world and in Europe as well. So this is on the text part, and then how to customize your model using language understanding. So we covered 4 demos so far. So we started with search, on how to enrich your search. We looked at form recognition, so trying to extract key value pair from forms. We looked at using pre-built models for entity extraction, sentiment analysis, and then we looked at LUIS, or language understanding, to customize language model to extract entities. Now let us go and look at the translation API. So like I said earlier, this supports more than 60 languages, and it supports real-time translation, and it also supports containers. So you can run, you can have that in containers basically. So I'm going to show you 2 demos. One is just pure text, and then the other one will be extracting text from image and then doing the translation. So let me select Hungary over here. Okay, so I have Hungarian selected, and then you saw like immediately it did a translation for me, and this is all real time, so I can change it to another language as well, and it will quickly do that. So it's very easy to use. You just send the raw text data, and then you can get the output. Okay, so that's on the text. Now let's do image, right? So I'm going to, instead of selecting an image, I'm going to search using the Bing API. So there is Bing API, which is integrated behind, which allows you to search. So I'm just going to say quote of the day, right? So we'll pick up some quote. Maybe we'll pick up a complicated one. Maybe I'll do this one. Maybe it's not very clear, right? The text is not very clear. So you see over here. So in this case, it detected text from the image and it showed me the English text, and then it did the translation as well. Now I'll let you judge how accurate it is. If anyone has any comments, yeah, please let me know. But let us do one more, maybe. Yeah, this one. This has a lot of text, which is small and big, right? So, and it's very dark. So if you see here, I think it got this as well 100% correct. So if you see your repeated excellence, and it's not a habit. So it's as easy, and that's the power of Azure AI. Like you can use everything integrated quickly. So that's on the demos which I wanted to show you today. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. And so we had our annual event. Oh, it started. So we had our annual event this week. We call it Build 2020. I'm not sure how many of you know about it, but essentially we highlight all the latest and greatest work that the team does across Microsoft to external audiences. And this year it's a 48 hours nonstop follow the sun kind of an online event. You can still go through it. There are recordings which will be available, or I think there are some live sessions happening today as well. Today is the last day. So I'll share the link with you after this. So we have made some new announcements over here. So I'll touch upon some of these announcements. So for computer vision, we have now support for new languages. We have support for containers. So Docker containers now can have language understanding and text analytics in GA. We expanded the language coverage for speech. 27 new languages were added to it. So this is basically speech to text and text to speech. And then the language understanding, we have version 3 portal, which went GA. That's the demo which I showed you. That was the latest portal. And then we have personalizer and custom vision now supporting product recognition as well. So these are some of the new announcements and some of the things I showed you in the demo. Now these are the links. Some of the links, and I'll paste it in the Q&A as well, so people can go through. I'll quickly show you so that people know about it over here. So this is build, and you can go to mybuild.microsoft.com, search for cognitive services, and you'll see all the sessions that were streamed this week. And some of the sessions are still to happen probably, or already happened in the morning, but they have live Q&A and things like that. We also have a channel 9, and this one has some of the new releases. So I touched upon these cognitive services at a high level, and I showed you the demo. But then if you want to dig deeper into a particular cognitive service, right, you can go to channel 9. And I have my teammates, other product managers, actually showcasing the latest and the greatest work on individual cognitive services which are there. There is another thing which I wanted to show you is the Ignite session, which happens in November. So this also has longer sessions which you can go through if you need more details about it. And then this is the customer portal, which I showed you earlier. So if you want to see what customers are building with these cognitive services, and if you want to see references or get some app ideas, you can do that as well. Okay, Congress, is it possible to annotate text and build a graph with the annotation like doc A to do sub entity 1 through? Okay, so is it possible? Like I just wanted some more information. Like what does it mean doc A sub 1 to 4? Is it like you have a document and then you wanted to label data in it and then build a graph related to it? Is that the question? Yeah, the person is anonymous, so I don't know who posted it.
Yes, and if you will post another one, I will publish it for you to see.
Okay. Yeah. And so
we have
meanwhile,
another one in the meantime.
Yeah. And before I jump, let me show you how the annotated text or the extracted text can be used to build a graph, right? So this is the same JFK demo which I showed you earlier. There's a website as well. You can go to that, and I'll copy the link in the chat window. But if you see over here, like once I have all this text which was extracted using different cognitive services which I showed you, you can actually have this graph, and then you can figure out the strength or the relation between different entities. So I'm assuming this is the question that was being asked, that okay, after I do the extractions, can I build a graph around it? Yeah, so this is how it is. Now, this annotation or the extraction can be done with the pre-built services or through Lewis, which I showed you earlier, where essentially you can build custom models around it. So both ways you can do that, and you can enrich your database, and then you can build a relationship graph around it. So you can figure out the strengths and all those things as well as part of it. Okay. So hopefully I answered the question. Exact. Okay, cool. Thank you. So I answered the question. That's great. Okay, let's go to the next question. The translation is done based on words and context, or just based on words? Oh, that's a good question. So it's based on the context actually. So we don't do word by word translation. We use neural machine models. So basically this is deep learning, and this is neural machine translation, and it tries to understand the full context, and it tries to localize how the sentence would be spoken in the local language. So that's how it is. Okay. Next question, the extraction can be saved in Cosmos DB? Absolutely. So the good thing about these APIs is we give you a JSON format, right? So then you can, once you parse it, you are free to store it wherever you want to store it. We don't restrict you. So you can put it in a blob storage, Cosmos DB, or SQL, or export it somewhere else, or local, anywhere you want it, right? So you are free to do whatever you want to do with this extracted text. You just have to parse the JSON and then use it. And this is applicable for all the cognitive services. Okay, next question. So I'll just acknowledge the questions I answer. So in case, okay. Are you working on home projects, for example, data mining with Tesla engines, life cycle data? I don't know, like I probably need some more context on what is Tesla engines lifecycle data. Yeah, if the person can probably provide some more information, that would be great. Is it data like, okay, I mean, I don't know, like, is it because Tesla, I know the car company, but I don't know what is Tesla engine. If there is there okay, so there's no company like Tesla engine. So the only company I know is Tesla, the car company. But yeah, they are not a direct customer of ours. Tesla is more, I think they are more in-house. So they might be using Azure, but we don't have a published story. I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, if you give me more information, then I can try to answer. But yeah, so any other questions?
Yes, we have one more.
Oh, okay. So where should I go? Oh, so there's one more. Okay. So large companies, like we still use human operators to handle incident tickets. What is your estimation when these jobs are going to take over by robots? I mean, I don't know about estimation robots, but we do work with customers. Like, in fact, our own Microsoft support, we receive like, I think 20,000 tickets per day, or this kind of support requests per day. And we have many people who analyze this and do that. Now, we do have automation, right? But the way we think of automation or machine learning models is not to replace a human job, but to enhance or aid a human being, right? So it helps you, it helps you speed up your work. So then now you can work on more projects or maybe focus on some more core activities. So that's how we see it. Like say, and it also helps avoid sometimes errors which might happen, right? So that's how we tend to think of it, and we have enough proof points with customers that they are not replacing jobs by robots, but it's actually enhancing the human workflow. And a lot of these customers actually have human in the loop, because some business critical tasks may not be run completely on AI, right? So there is always a human in the loop to verify that whatever the prediction is happening, is this correct? And if there is a need to correct it, we also provide you an ability to give an active feedback. So in fact, the custom modeling approach, which I showed you, in that, like when you deploy a model and then you see that your training data or your input data has changed versus what you had initially, you don't have to start from scratch. You can just provide that delta and then relabel or provide additional labels and then retrain it and then redeploy it. So there is always this human in the loop, and it's not AI which is always doing everything by itself. Okay. Next question, can we extract the words from PDF documents with their location? Does it give us a list? Yes, the answer is yes. So what we allow is you can convert these PDFs automatically using the internal conversion engine, right? So it gets converted to TXT, and then you can extract entities using the text analytics service, which I showed you earlier, or you can build a new model where you can extract custom information, and then it gives you a JSON object, so that's the list it gives you, and then you can parse that JSON object to get whatever you want and then use it wherever you want. So that's how it is. Okay, cool. So are there any other questions? We still have 15 minutes if anyone has more questions. Was this session useful? If anyone has any comments or want to see more demos, I'm happy to show if any particular service which I showed you is of specific interest.
I think there are 2 more questions there.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't scroll somehow, so that's why. Okay, so there is one question on when you combine the cognitive services, can you deploy it on same container or need to publish separate ones? If I want to deploy to edge device, can I have limited resources to run more container, but I have limited resources? Yeah, absolutely. So you can have the container now which can be deployed with limited resources. I think some of the things that I have tried are like, I think up to 2 GB memory or something like that. You can have that. Now the pre-built containers are individual containers for each service, right? So the answer to your question is, like, can you have just one container for all the services? No, not yet. You will still have individual containers for each service, and then you have to run it. But then there is always, you can always create a super set of that, maybe by doing some of your own programming, and then use that. Now, cognitive search itself, if it becomes containerized, then you can do that. So I need to look it up in terms of the latest roadmap, in terms of when all the services can be combined into one, and do that. But right now, you can definitely run it on edge. It's just that you'll have to run individual ones and call it, because these are pre-built containers, right? And that's how we bill or we charge customers as well. So that's on the containers. Next one is, could you share some documentation URL about document annotation? Yeah, so about document annotation per se, so I'll share with you all the links which I had. Now the document annotation itself is not published, it's still in private preview. So if you have interest, then you have to share your email, and then I think you need to be an NDA customer of Microsoft to try the preview. So and then you can have access to the documentation as well in terms of what we have right now. So it's not in public, but it's in a private preview. So normally when we launch a new service, we have 3 phases for every launch, right? So one is our private preview. Think of it like a beta tester, but private beta. So we have a closed group of internal and external customers. And when I say internal, it means like say OneDrive or PowerPoint or Outlook who want to use it. And then external customers, which could be NDA customers of Microsoft. And the product team directly works with them. So I work with a bunch of these customers every day, and they try the new offering and then give us feedback, right? So that's what I call as private preview. And then after a few months, and once we have addressed majority of the feedback, we launch it for public preview. And then at public preview, you don't need special access. Like you can just use your Azure subscription and then use it. And we also give you free credits actually to try it out. So you can do that. And then after a few months of public preview, we do GA or general availability, right? So that these are the normal phases. So the document annotation one is in private preview. So if you have interest, you'll have to share your email and then then we can discuss further, assuming that you are a Microsoft NDA customer for that. But yeah. Any other questions? We have one more.
Yes, we have one more.
Yeah. So do you know, are there going Hungarian speech to text projects? I particularly don't know any specific projects which are there. The one which I showed you was the government project which was done, which does have the Hungarian audio to text or speech to text conversion. I can find out more and share it. Again, if you share your email, probably I can work with Anar, who helped organize this meetup from our marketing team, and then actually get back to you on that. And if you have more details on how you plan to use it or things like that, yeah, please feel free to share with us, and happy to help. Okay. Any other questions?
It seems that we don't have any more questions to answer. So,
okay, cool. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and hope you found it useful, and looking forward for your feedback once you try out the various cognitive service you have, and looking forward to what intelligent applications you build using that. So thank you very much and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.